Okay, so 11, 12, 13, we are factoring and solving. 11, this looks like the difference of cubes to me. The reason I'm thinking that is because I have two terms. They have a minus between them. And I see a cubed. So I'm going to double check that. I'm thinking, is 125 the cube of anything? And I think that's a yes. What is it? 5. So this is 5 times x cubed. And 216 is also the cube of something. It's the cube of 6. So this is 6 cubed. So this is a difference of cubes. We have a formula for that. Okay? The difference of cubes formula says it's going to be, this is like my A and my B. It's going to be A minus B. So 5x minus 6 times A squared. So 5x squared means 5x times 5x. So that's 25x squared. A times B, 5x times 6 is 30x. And B squared, which is 36. Okay, so this said factor completely and then solve. This is completely factored, which is kind of bad news because that means that I can't factor this anymore. So I have something that is squared and I can't factor it. What's another way to solve something squared? Starts with a Q. Quadratic formula. This is a quadratic, and if I can't factor it, the best secondary way to go ahead and try and solve it would be to use the quadratic formula. So I can solve this by just setting equal to 0. And I get x is positive 6 over 5. So that's one solution. But to get the other two, I'm going to have to use quadratic formula. So here's my A, here's my B, here's my C. Quadratic formula says, let's see if I can write this a little smaller. Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So that's what I'm about to do here. So I have opposite of b, so that's negative 30 plus or minus the square root of 30 squared is 900 minus 4 times a times c. So I might want to go ahead and do 25 times 36 real quick on my calculator. I believe that's going to be 900. 25 times 36 should give you 900. All over 2 times a, so that's 50. So I have negative 30 plus or minus the square root of, let's see, it's going to be negative 3 times 900. All over 50. The biggest perfect square that goes into here is going to be 900. So when I break that down, let's come over here on another sheet of paper. To break down this, I'm thinking negative 1, 900, and 3. The reason I did the negative 1 separately is because by itself that's an I. Square root of negative 1 is just I. Square root of 900 is 30. And the square root of 3 we can't simplify. So this is what I'm going to have in place of that radical is 30i times the square root of 3. So I've got negative 30 plus or minus 30i times the square root of 3 all over 50. Remember that when you're simplifying something like this, you can't simplify something that's under a radical with something that's not under a radical. Children inside the house play with other children inside the house. Children outside the house play with other children outside the house. So I can simplify the 30, the 30, and the 50 because all three of those are divisible by what? 10. Okay? 30 divided by 10 gives me negative 3 for this, plus or minus positive 3i root 3 all over 5. So this is my other two solutions. It's two solutions because of that plus or minus. The plus or minus means that one of my solutions is negative 3 plus 3i times square root of 3 over 5. And my other solution is negative 3 minus 3i root 3 over 5. So this is probably the messiest type you would do, is if you cannot completely factor, if you can't go all the way and you have to use quadratic formula.